Behold, there is a God in heaven, more subtle than the air of heaven. He it was that brought us forth out of darkness. He speaketh an idle, that ye may know he abideth with his people. The Druxa said, What saith he? The hens answered a saying, that whosoever hath attained to remember God is in the way of everlasting life. The Drux inquired, a saying, How shall a man live forever? Behold, ye that believe also die. The hens answered, a saying, As the voice of the Lord is unseen but potent, so is there a spirit in man unseen and potent, which shall never die, but ascend in heaven to habitations prepared by the Lord. And many of the Drugs pondered on these things, and their thoughts quickened their souls within them, so that they brought forth heirs unto eternal salvation. And the Lord saith unto the hens, Because ye have done a good thing, go ye abroad by the roadsides and other places, and build images unto me and mine, and my angels shall bestow gifts and signs and miracles. And the hens covered the roadways of the earth over with idols, a stone and wood and clay. And the angels of heaven descended to the idols and established thereabout heavenly kingdoms. And when man came hither and called on the name of the Lord, it was as a password for the angels, and they wrought miracles, and otherwise gave evidence unto man of the unseen. Chapter 3. And God gave commandments unto man, and the earth might be a place of rejoicing forever. And there the commandments of the Lord God is given in that day. Thou shalt strive to remember the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou shalt not kill man, nor beast, nor bird, nor creeping thing, for they are the Lord's. Thou shalt build walls round about thy cities, that beasts and serpents may not enter and do thee harm. And if thy habitation be in the wilderness, thou shalt build mounds of wood and earth to sleep on at night, that serpents and beasts may not molest thee. The hens inquired of the Lord, saying, If we build walls round about our cities, how shall we get in and out? How shall we gather our harvest of fruit and nuts and seeds of the field? How shall we ascend on the mounds which we build in the wilderness? The Lord said, Behold, my angels shall teach you to build ladders, and how to use them. And when ye go into the city at night, ye shall take the ladders in after you. And when ye come out in the morning, ye shall let the ladders down again. And God's angels taught the chosen these things. And man provided the cities with ladders, and he provided the mounds with ladders also, according to the commandment of God were these things are done. And the hens prospered and spread abroad over the face of the earth. Hundreds of thousands of cities and mounds built they, and they rejoiced in the glory of all created things. Neither killed they man, nor beast, nor fish, nor bird, nor a creeping thing that breathed the breath of life. And God saw that a man was good and grateful in all things. And God called unto the angels of heaven, saying, Why are the hens good? For as yet they are ignorant. And as the angels answered, saying, Because thou saidst unto us, Go ye as guardian angels, and inspire man to live without evil. Even so have we administered unto the eye-hens a garden and inspired them night and day. Ha! A god said, why then the eye-hens have no honor, except they learn of themselves to be good. They will be void of wisdom in heaven. For this reason ye shall withdraw a little, that man be tried as to his self-commandment. And the angels withdrew a while from the eye-hens, and now it came to pass that they had stored in their cities and on their mounds ample provision for food and raiment for the winter. But the druks followed not the example of the eye-hens, for the druks stored up a nothing. And when the angels departed a little way, evil spirits came to the druks, and said unto them, behold, it is a winter, and ye are hungry. Go ye over the ladders, and possess the stores of the eye-hens. And the druks plundered the eye-hens, and the evil spirits sat upon the eye-hens also. And many of them were inspired to defend their stores, and war ensued, and it spread around about the whole earth. And the eye-hens besought the Lord as to why God suffered evil to come upon his chosen. And the Lord said, because ye depended upon me for all things, ye develop not yourselves. Henceforth shall man learn to face evil on his own account. Otherwise he could not attain to the Godhead in heaven. Two entities has thy Creator given thee, that which is flesh and that which is a spirit. And the flesh shall desire earthly things, but the spirit shall desire heavenly things. Behold, when the druks came upon thee for thy stores, thy flesh cried out war, and thy people fell. Again have I come to thee to raise thee up, to make thee understand the spirit within. It is that, and not the flesh, which shall learn to triumph. The eye-hens said, our people are scattered and gone. Will they not mingle with the druks, and thus go out in darkness? The Lord said, behold, there were druks who had learned a little from the images. Now, because thy people are scattered and gone, they shall go amongst the druks and teach the law of incest in the name of a god. They shall also begin to hide their nakedness. So the Lord inspired other people beside the eye-hens to make and wear clothes, and they thus wore 'em. And again the Lord brought the eye-hens together in lodges and cities, and he said unto 'em, henceforth ye shall live upon the earth as an example of a righteousness, and your brethren who have mingled with the tribes of darkness shall no longer molest you, but be your defenders and protectors. Aha! And there began to be a new tribe on the earth, and they were called the Ahuans, because they were half-breeds betwixt the druks and eye-hens. The Ahuans were red like a copper, and they were taller and stronger than any other people in all the world. And the Lord commanded the Ahuans, saying, protect ye the eye-hens of the little people, the white and yellow. Call them the sacred people, and ye are of them, and ye are also of the Lord your God. And it was so. Chapter 4. About this time man began to use his lips and tongue and enunciate in the words, prior to which he spoke in the thorax. And the Lord spake unto the hens, saying, that the labor of the Lord thy God may be remembered on the earth. Go and provide me a stone, and I will engrave it with mine own hand, and it shall be called Semoin. See first tablet book of Sapphire, because it shall be a testimony to all nations and a peoples on the earth, of the first written language in all the world. And the hens prepared a stone, and hewed it flat, and then polished it to smooth. And the Lord came down in the night and engraved it. And the Lord explained it through his angels, taught he the hens the meaning of the characters engraved thereon. And the Lord said, go into all cities and all the countries of the world, and provide ye copies like unto the tablet I have given you. So it came to pass the angels of heaven inspired the hens to make a tablets and to read 'em, that the first language of the earth, panic, might be preserved of the races of men. And it was so. Now the Ahoans partly obeyed the Lord, and partly obeyed the way of the flesh, and they became warriors and destroyers. Nevertheless they harmed not the hens, nor suffered harm to come upon them. A God had commanded the hens to make eunuchs of the yaks, the monstrosities, and use them as servants. For the Lord saw that the yaks were not capable of everlasting life in the heaven. Now the Ahoans also served the yaks in the same way, but they disobeyed God in inflicting the neutral gender on their enemies, whom they captured in war. And although they were themselves half-breeds with the Drooks, yet they hated the Drooks and pursued them with vengeance. In those days the relative proportion of the races of men were hens 100, Ahoans 300, Drooks 5,000, yaks 5,000, and of monstrosities betwixt a man and beast 3,000. But the latter died each generation, for they had not the power of procreation amongst themselves. And God saw the work of destruction going on of the Ahoans, a slaughter and rotten left. And he sent the hens to preach amongst them, saying to the hens, thus say ye to the Ahoans, whomsoever is created alive, kill not, for it is the commandment of the Lord. For in the time of your most success in the slaughtering your fellow man, ye are also people in heaven with the spirits of vengeance, and they will return upon you, and even the Ahoans shall turn upon one another, thus saith the God. But the Ahoans understood not, believed not. And it came to pass that great darkness covered the earth, and man, save the few hens, gave up to wickedness all his days. And the Lord's people worshipped and preached in the temples, and the Lord and his heavenly host manifested unto him. But all the other races of men heard not, would not come to learn of God. And the Lord became tired in his labor, and he called his angels unto him, and he said unto him, Behold, the man on the earth hath gone so far from my ways, he will not heed my commandments. He cannot hear my voice, and your labor is in vain also. For which reason we will tarry no longer on the earth, till man hath exhausted the evil that is in him. So the Lord and his angel hosts had departed away from the earth, and clouds came over the face of the earth. The moon shone not, and the sun was only as a red coal of fire, and the stars stood in the firmament, as well in the day and as at night. The harvest failed, the trees yielded no nuts, and the roots on which man of feet had ceased to grow, and the monstrosities and the yaks and the drucks had died off, tens of millions of them, and even yet they were not extinct. Nevertheless, the Ahouans suffered less, and the Ahens not at all, for the Lord had previously inspired them to provide against the coming of famine, and the Lord bewailed the earth and the generations of man. I made man upright and walked by his side, but he slipped aside and fell, said the Lord. I admonished him, but he would not heed. I showed him that every living creature brought forth his own kind, but he understood not, believed not, and he dwelt with the beasts, a fallen lower than all the rest. End of the first book of the First Lords. The book of Ashon, son of Jehovah, God of the second cycle after man's creation. Chapter 1. When God and his lords of heaven and earth had lost their heavenly dominion, the swift messengers that constantly ply through the atmospherian and Etherian worlds bore to report to Jehovah's kingdoms in Etheria. The earth had passed the Eddies at Shrappa in the Etherian roadway. Hyabalkiev was a-heading for the eastern fields of Anakaron. Heaven entered the Dan-Hayan arches of Vihitava, where lay the great kingdoms of the Orient chief Highway, with his millions of gods and goddesses and high-raised Etherians. Before Highway came the swift messengers, fresh from the heavens of the earth, with their pitiful tales of woe that had befallen the inhabitants thereof. Highway said, I behold the red star, the earth, O Jehovah. I've heard the tale of horror. What shall be done, O Father? Then spake Jehovah, saying, Call thy tributary chief Ashon, let him hear the will of Jehovah. Then sent Highway for Ashon, who had dominion over the fields of Anakaron in Etheria, through which lay the roadway where the earth was to travel for 3,000 years. And when Ashon came before the holy council of Highway's million gods and goddesses, the light fell upon the throne like a sun, and the voice of the Creator spake in the midst of the light, saying, Highway, my son. And Highway answered, Here am I, thy servant, O Jehovah. Jehovah said, Behold the red star of the earth. She entereth the fields of Anakaron. She is a dripping wet and cold in the Jayan Eddies. Her God and lords are powerless in the spell of darkness. Send thou thy son Ashon to deliver the earth and her heavens. For behold, I will bring them to his door. Then spake Ashon, saying, Thy will be done, O Jehovah. Though I've been long honored in Etheria, with many Etherian worlds to command, I've not as yet redeemed one corporeal world in her heaven from a time of darkness. Jehovah said, Go then, my son, to the labor in earth and deliverer, but first appoint thou a successor for Anacharon. Then spake High-U-Wee, who was older than the red star, who had seen many corporeal worlds created, had seen 'em run their course and then disappear as such. He said to Ashon, Send thou to Wan and to Hivigat in Etheria, and get the history of the earth and her heaven, and obtain thou also an account of her harvest of brides and bridegrooms to Jehovah, and thou shalt call from my realms as many million Etherian angels as thy labor may require, and with them proceed to the earth, and thou shalt have a line of swift messengers established betwixt this place and thine, and by the power of Jehovah I will answer thy prayers in whatsoever thou shalt need. Then Ashon went back to Anacharon, his Etherian kingdom, and before his holy council made known Jehovah's will and his. And Ashon called for 60 million volunteers to go with him on his mission, and they came up presently, some from Johan, some from Seeing, some from Araith, some from Gonlu, and from various other places in Anacharon. Came in millions, came as many as Ashon had called for. So Ashon raised up a successor to Jehovah's throne in Anacharon, and he was installed and crowned according to the discipline of the Etherian heavens. And Ashon sent swift messengers into the former roadway of the earth to obtain its history, its harvest and brides and bridegrooms. Then gazed Ashon toward the red star, and his 60 million volunteers also gazed, and watched her as she coursed along in the arches of Vihiteva. Thus Ashon, well skilled in the course and behavior of the worlds, gathered together his millions of angels trained in arduous enterprise and furtherance of Jehovah's will. Quickly they framed and equipped an Orion Portagon, and illuminated it with firelights and boats. And these sons and daughters of Jehovah embarked and sped forth 500,000 miles, even on the outskirts of Anacharon, and they stood close above the earth, almost so near that the sweep of the moon would touch the down-hanging curtains of Etherian fire. And here they halted, that both mortals and angels belonging to the earth might behold and fear. For such Jehovah had made man by unusual sights to become weak and a-trembling, to change him to new purposes. What? Jehovah's voice spake to Ashon, saying, For 3 days and nights stand thou in the firmament, that man on earth and in atmosphere may behold the power and majesty of my chosen in heaven. Ashon said, On the 4th day, O Jehovah, I will cross Chinvat. On the 5th descend toward the earth. Bring me, O Father, thy messengers from the lower heaven. I will converse with them. Jehovah sent the angels of the earth and the lower heaven up to Ashon. Disheartened they came to know Jehovah's will. Ashong said unto him, The Father's hosts are come from their high estate and glorious ease to redeem these fallen heavens and man on the earth. It is our labor to come in love to the helpless and teach 'em how to sing in Jehovah's praise. Then the swift messengers answered, In the all persons boundless love, find thou recompense for thy holy words, most honored God. Down in darkness long and earnestly have the lords of earth labored conjointly with heaven's God, whose kingdom fell. Alas, our God, who ministered over the lower heaven, is crushed and humiliated. The enemies of high heaven exulting in their spoil of Jehovah's kingdom, and his name mock us, saying, Where now is a Jehovah? Whence cometh the higher light? O ye faithest and an all person boundless. But now thy high shining sun, thy ship of ethereal fire, maketh the sons and daughters of the earth under heaven to look, and to fear and to tremble. And when thy light appeared, we made all haste and hope and to succor. Our souls are more than filled with thankfulness, and in Jehovah's name we will back and employ 1,000,000 trumpeters to proclaim around the earth and to heaven, Jehovah is come. After due salutation, the swift messengers had departed, and Ashong made all things in readiness for his descent, when the proper time should arrive. Chapter 2. Jehovah spake to Ashong, saying, On the evening of the 3rd day shalt thou move thy ethereal ship toward the earth, and when thou arrivest within an Araphon, thou shalt halt for another 3 days, that thy magnificence may all the men and angels of earth, with the power and glory of my emancipated sons and daughters. Ashong proceeded as commanded, and when he came within an Araphon, halted for 3 days, and the magnificence of the scene overcame the stubbornness of men of earth and angels in atmosphere. Again Jehovah said, Proceed again, my son, and when thou art within half the breadth of the earth, halt once more, and make in the place thereof a plateau, and it shall be the place of thy abiding for the time of dawn, which shall be 7 years and 60 days. And from this time forth my ethereal hosts shall not remain in atmosphere more than 8 years in any one cycle. Thus then I gave to thee shall be like every dawn a day, some a 1 year, some a 2 or 3 or 4 more years, as the time requireth. And thou shalt dwell in thy kingdom 7 years and 60 days, and the time shall be called the first dawn of day, and the next succeeding shall be called the second dawn of day, and so on, as long as the earth bringeth forth. And the time from one dawn of Dan to another shall be called 1 day and high, and 4 day and high shall be called 1 square, because this is the sum of 1 destiny, which is 12,000 of the earth's years, and 12 squares shall be called 1 cube, which is the first dividend of the 3rd space, in which there is no variation in the vortex of the earth. And 4 cubes shall be called 1 sum, because the magnitude thereof embraceth 1 equal of the great serpent. Ashong proceeded again and moved within 4,000 miles of the earth, and the voice of Jehovah commanded Ashong to halt in the place and found a new kingdom, using all things requisite to that end. Jehovah said, "Thy place shall be a distance away from the earth, that thy dominion be not disturbed by the confusion of the fallen angels thereof. So also do as many as thou shalt redeem away from the earth, and from mortal contact. The distance of thy kingdom will prevent them returning." Ashong perceived, and he proclaimed that Jehovah had spoken to him, and the host cast out fastenings to the plateau, that the kingdom, together with the Ethereal sea of fire, might rotate with the earth and its atmosphere. Jehovah said, "Make strong the foundation of thy place, and erect 10,000 pillars of fire round about, and in every direction provide roadways and mansions. But in the midst thou shalt build the house of council, wherein thou shalt sit thy host of dominion during the dawn." Ashong built the place as commanded by Jehovah, and when it was finished, Jehovah said, "Thou shalt call the place Yeshua," and it was so called because it was a place of salvation. Again Jehovah said, "Choose now thy council, my son, and also thy sub-officers, and when thou hast completed the list, leave in Yeshua the sub-officers, and proceed thou, and thy council of 1,000,000 men and women with thee, down to the earth and heaven thereof, and cast thine eyes upon the inhabitants, for they are in distress. And when thou comest to the place of my lords and my God, deliver thou them and bring them to Yeshua, for they need a rest. And as many of the eye hens in heaven as are capable, bring thou also away with thee, and give them into the care of thy people." Ashong did it as commanded, first selecting his council and his officers. Then he and his host proceeded to the earth as had been commanded. Chapter 3. Up to this time, the ancient names of the division of the lands of the earth had been maintained, and God and his lords being driven from the place of Horeb, which had gone into dissolution, dwelt part of the time in Wagga, and part in Judd and Ballou. And God and the lords had established 3 kingdoms, one in Wagga, one in Judd, and one in Ballou. And within these kingdoms of heaven there were 200 million redeemed angels, capable of the second resurrection, and 100 million Essenes and unlearned apprentices. Chief of the 3 heavens was Wagga, and thither had God and his lords congregated with their chief officers. And soon the sign of the descendancy of Jehovah's kingdom appeared in the firmament above. To God Jehovah spake, saying, "Make ready thy places, O my son, and thy lords with thee. Behold, I come in a world of fire, and my faithful workers shall find rest and happiness. Ashong will redeem thy sons and daughters. Yea, will girdle the earth about with new ethereal light and great power. Call together thy people, O God, and bid them rejoice and make 'em merry, for the time of deliverance is at hand." Then God communicated to the lords, and they again to others, the words of Jehovah. And at sight of the sign in heaven the faithful began to rejoice, and to gather together in their respective places. But the unbelieving angels a dwelling on the earth and with mortals, and in other abodes, of whom there were hundreds of millions, this is what happened. They were overcome by the sight of the ship of fire in heaven above, and in fear fled in all directions. And by their great numbers in the presence of mortals, caused mortals also to fear and flee in search of some secure place. And many of the spirits of darkness came beseechingly to be admitted into the kingdoms of the lords, whither they had been invited for hundreds of years, but would not come. But to God and the lords encompassed their places about with walls of light, and would not receive the unbelieving. God said, till such a time as I shall arrive, let order be maintained within my kingdoms. So it came to pass that for 6 days and nights the fear that prevailed on earth and in the heaven was such as had never been seen before on the earth. And God and the lords brought their ensigns out, and they sang and danced before Jehovah. And on the approach of Ashong's hosts, with his musicians and heralds, and the great multitude arrayed in a shining raiment, even a God and the lords were overcome by the splendor and magnificence. They sat down on the improvised throne, and the Athenian marshals approached and divided, first into single columns, then double, then quadruple, and so on, till the 40,000 marshals had enclosed on all sides, save the east, where was an open space through which Ashong came, attended by his chief counselors, of which there were 5,000. After these came the council of 1,000,000, interbroken here and there with groups of thousands of listeners, who were chanting the hymns of praise to Jehovah and his kingdoms. The lower heaven above, the continent of Wagga, and the parts of Judd and Vohu was illuminated by the host of Ashong, the like of which had never been in atmosphere before. Nor was there any more work being done on earth or in heaven, because of the fair and great stirring up. But now Ashong approached before the throne of a God and the lords, saluting with the sign of the second degree of Jehovah, saying, in Jehovah's name and by his power, wisdom and love am I come to give you joy. God said, in Jehovah's name all hail Ashong, chief of Anakaron, all hail. And the God went forward to the foot of the throne and received Ashong, whereupon the lords came forward saluting also. The Essenors ceased singing, and Ashong proceeded to the throne and sat thereon, and a God took off his own crown and gave it to Ashong, and also gave him the triangle, which was called the heirloom of the heavenly kingdoms of the earth, bestowed by the command of Jehovah. The all light was abundant around about Ashong, and the voice of Jehovah spake out of the midst thereof, saying, inasmuch as these things are done in my name prayerfully, and in faith, so do I dwell with you all. My son shall wear thy crown, O God. Behold, I am come in might and swiftness, for it is the springtime of the earth. My son Cephas is afoot on the earth. He hath stirred up the earth born, but I will establish anew my light in these heavens. Have I not said I brought the seed of everlasting life to the earth? I gave God and his lords to teach immortals and spirits of my glories in the upper heavens. And I commanded that they came up out of the earth should be my God and my lords in these realms. Ye were installed by my hand, and have done a good work. Think not that I curse because a Horeb and Moab are fallen. Knew I not beforehand that these things would be? Behold, I have provided all my works, so that man should be forever making the new things. Had Horeb stood, there had been no heaven to rebuild on earth in this day. How then could my newborn gods learn? Think not that I come to teach with mine own labor. I provide my people that they shall teach one another. What is so conceited as a man, and yet I bring him into life, the dumbest of animals. Man prideth himself in his power and wisdom. I send the drought, the rains and winds, the weakest of my members, and they show man he is a nothing. So also do my gods and lords of the lower heaven become conceited of their power and wisdom. But a turn of a word and their heavens fall. Thousands of millions of souls turn from order and high estate into confusion and anarchy. Thus do I confound men and angels, and in their seeming misery lay the foundation for an everlasting good. The voice has ceased. What? Ashong said, in the name of Jehovah, I announce my presence over the earth and the lower heaven. The marshal said, All hail Ashong, God of heaven and earth, proclaim him in Jehovah's name. Hardly had these words gone forth when the voice of the entire host joined in a proclaiming, All hail, O God, the Son of Jehovah. Ashong, and now God said, Thy crown shall be my crown. From under this shall Jehovah's power triumph. Otherwise people would say, Behold, there is no virtue in Jehovah's crowns. So he placed it on his head and rose up, and saluted the retired God and the lords, saying to him, I have a place for ye, and it is called Yeshua. Retire thither with my proper officers, and partake a rest in the freedom of the place until I come also. But the retired God and lords said, We pray thee, put us to labor. Whereupon a God Ashong said, Jehovah's sons must not be humiliated. How then can ye labor under me? Were ye not Jehovah's a God and the Lord's? They perceived, and after due salutations were provided with an escort of 500,000 men and women, and they departed on their way to Yeshua. A God Ashong said, Let McGee come before me, and Bingfo, and Nest. They shall be my lords adon in Jehovah's name. The three came and stood before the throne. A God said, I announce the presence of Jehovah's lords of the earth. The marshal said, All hail, O McGee and Bangfo and the Nest, Jehovah's lords of the earth. These were also proclaimed by the voice of the assembled hosts. God said, "In Jehovah's name, go your ways, O lords of the earth." Whereupon the lords crowned themselves and at once departed, saluting reverently. God said, "Bring the atmospherian marshals to me." They were brought and stationed in front of the throne. God said, "Glory to thee, O Jehovah. I have looked upon thy sons and daughters who have withstood the great darkness, but retain faith in thee. In thy name and by virtue of thy power do I deliver 'em. Let him who is chief answer me. How many angels are prepared for the second resurrection? Sinai chief marshal said, 200,000,000. God said, "Retire thou and thy companions, and gather together Jehovah's a harvest of souls, and I'll send them to Yeshua." The atmospherians were then duly arranged as commanded, and God called 100 swift messengers and 100,000 Etherian marshals, and they provided abatos, and the host prepared for the second resurrection departed for Yeshua as commanded. God said, "I am now remaining my Etherian hosts, and the atmospherians in darkness. The latter let 'em remain as they are for 3 days, for I will travel about the world, and my Etherian hosts will with me, observing the mortals and the spirits in their places and the habits, that I may the better judgment provide accordingly." What? So a God and his Etherian angels provided an abatos, and they embarked and started on their journey, traveling imperceptibly to mortals. Chapter 4. The Council of Yeshua, of which there were 1,000,000 members, was formed into groups, and these again represented in groups, and these in still other groups. Consequently, a group of 1,000 had one speaker, who became the voice of that 1,000. Of these speakers, 100 had one voice in the council, and of these 10 had one voice before God, and he was the voice of the whole, and Jehovah was his voice. Thus was the whole the council represented in all its parts, and this was the manner of proceeding to wit. God commanded the subject. The council deliberated in thousands, and each speaker became aware of the voice of his group. Then these speakers assembled in hundreds and deliberated, and they again centered into one voice, and each 10 of these had one voice before God. Thus it came to pass that the decrees of God were both the wisdom of men and of Jehovah. Once the saying, when God said this, or God commanded that, it was the word of Jehovah expressed by men and angels. After God and his hosts have visited the earth and the lower heaven, they returned to Yeshua and sat in council on the affairs of mortals and atmospherians. God said, "Behold, the heavens and earth have become like gardens, grown foul and rank, producing nothing. I've come with a pruning knife and a consuming fire." And God said, I withdraw from the drudge and the druck. The beneficence of Jehovah is chosen. I leave 'em destitute. Who can approach the beggar with wisdom, or the king with inspiration to be good? A drowning man will try to swim, but the reveler in lust must perish before his soul can learn Jehovah. Better is it to labor with a child from infancy, and thence to maturity to teach it aright, than to strive with a score of conceited adults and fail to redeem a one. Who is the mocker of charity more than they that give to such as can help themselves but will not? Wisdom and uprightness a harder but bread. Preach not to unwelcome ears. Are sermons of wisdom to be forced into men's souls? Blessed Jehovah! He made hunger, and so men love bread. Without the hunger they would not eat. A wise God driveth home to man's understanding his helplessness and spirit when Jehovah is denied. Pursue the earth, O my beloved, bring hence all light. Pursue the lower heaven and the earth also, bring hence all light. I will leave the earth and heaven in darkness one whole year. They shall cry out, their conceit and the dumb wind shall fail. Have not the spirits of heaven despoiled the Horrid and the Moab? Do not evil spirits and evil men say, Behold, there is enough. Let us divide. But they produce not, their devourers living on other substance. The Great Spirit made man to exert, and by exertion groweth he in wisdom and strength. They seek ease and comfort, helpless and more helpless they fall. They are on the road to everlasting destruction. Happy is the God who can arouse them. Chapter 5. God said, Blessed is the surgeon's knife, its burn is the capital of health regained. But yet a fool will cry out, Hold, hold, enough, thou inflictor of pain. Who hath an eye like Jehovah? His a whipping poster on all sides, but there is a clear road between 'em, yet man followeth it not. Withdraw, good men and good angels, and there is no person left. They would not be half made up. A man without an arm or a leg is but a part of a man. A man without perception of all person is a deformity in soul. He seeketh a home for his own ease and to glory, but the Son of Jehovah seeketh to find the severest labor that will profit his brethren. Yeshua shall be my homestead. Hither will I bring the fruit of heaven below. Hither build my train and the schools. 7 years shall be my service, and they shall learn the ways of Etheria. Build me a house of brotherhood, and fill it with willing pupils, sworn to labor. I will make 'em gods and lords with power and wisdom. Behold, a man maketh a factory, and turneth out a fabric for sale. I make a college, and I turn out sons and daughters of Jehovah to give away. Bring me such material as will stand in warp and filling. Jehovah's a fabric shall endure forever. Ha! Search me out the seed of Ahin, and house 'em with care, for they shall redeem the earth born after I ascend to the Father's kingdom. Chapter 6. All the first best angels of atmospheria were brought away from the earth and housed in Yeshua, being placed at school and in factories new made in heaven. These were eye hens. The second first best spirits were brought also, but placed in hospitals and in nurseries. Of those who had advanced to receive the second resurrection, a God said, build an Etherian ship and make 'em to Theastivi in Etheria. So it came to pass there were 200 million raised to the second resurrection, the great 35. Theastivi lieth betwixt Etheria and 7 Agi, which is the lowest the Etherian heavens next to an atmospherian abode. A God said, two qualities have I left in Yeshua, first and the second. They shall be the new kingdom after I am ascended. From these I will raise up a God and the Lords, and they shall rule over the lower heaven and the earth, and they shall bequeath to others after him to rule in like manner. Thus was founded the second elect of Jehovah on the fruit of the earth. A God's Etherian host became as a training school to raise up a God and the Lords, and marshals and essenars and all other officers, and men and women for a lower heaven. A God said, Yeshua shall not approach nearer the earth, nor shall it be as a horrid, where spirits of darkness might easily approach. 100 million spirits did the God and his lords and fellow laborers bring from the earth to Yeshua, and they were placed in a brotherhood appointed in the places suited to their talents. And the God divided the time of a study, and of a recreation, and of a music, and a discipline, marching and so on, suited to all the people. And it was a place of order and glory. For without discipline there is nothing, and discipline cannot be without ceremony, nor ceremony without rites, and forms, and established words. It is not a foolish soldier that saith, Behold, I am wise. I need no discipline nor manual arms. What more is he than one of an untutored mob? God said, As I drill 'em in heaven to make 'em a unit, so give ye to mortals rites and ceremonies, that coming into heaven they go not back to their old haunts, and fall into darkness. Whatever tendeth to harmonize the behavior of individuals is of the Father. The opposite tendeth to evil. Better is it that men march to the sound of one monotonous word than not to march at all. The value lieth not in the word, but in it bringeth a man into unison. That which was void, a fool saith, I need not pray. There is no virtue in words. But his soul groweth up at variance with Jehovah. Neither is there more virtue in the prayer of the words than in the march and sacred dance before Jehovah. For whatever tendeth to unite men in one expression of soul in harmony is Jehovah's. Sacred dances and rites and ceremonies were established in Yeshua in the name of Jehovah, and the new heaven became a place of delight. God said, Teach my chosen to labor hard and wisely, and to dance with energy, and to sing with strength and fullness of soul. For what more is there in any man or woman than to learn to put forth? And what more pitiful thing is there in heaven than a man or woman who hath but dragged along? What? Chapter 7. When all the first best spirits of the lower heaven, and such as dwelt with mortals, were taken away and domiciled in Yeshua, there were left only Drujas, spirits of darkness on the face of the earth. For 1 whole year God left the earth void of Jehovah's light. Mortals loved more to commune with the spirits of their kindred, who knew little of heaven, than they did with Etherians, who were wise and holy. God said, What man or what woman have ye found who saith, Come ye angels of Jehovah, tell me wherein I can do more good works, for I thirst and I am hungry to serve Jehovah with all my wisdom and strength, and doing a good to my fellows. Rather do they turn away from such, and drink in the tales of the strolling drudge, and so wrap themselves up in darkness. For this reason shall they find darkness in the heaven and earth, and they shall be as one who is sick and broken down in conceit. When the year of darkness was ended, God sent pruners around about the earth and in the lower heaven of the earth. 2,000,000 pruners sent he forth, saying to him, Fill all the evil spirits dwelling with mortals, whether they be fatals or familiars, and gather them into one place, and find the spirits and fairies who have taken up caves and waterfalls on earth as their abode, and bring them to the same place. Then find the idiotic and chaotic spirits who dwell on battlefields, and bring them to the same place. Then find the lusters who dwell in old castles and ruined cities, and in old houses of evil, and when they are going out for raids on mortals, seize them and bring them to the same place. The Etherians went and collected all the evil spirits and the spirits of darkness belonging to the earth, and brought them to a place in Atmospheria, and there were of them 900,000,000. God said, Prepare a ship suitable to transport them to Hudau in Gia, and there provide them a kingdom to themselves, giving them a god and lords and the proper officers to discipline and educate them for Jehovah's kingdoms. Thus were they removed, and the earth and its lower heaven were purified from evil spirits by the decree of God and Yeshua in the 2nd year of the first dawn of Dan. Chapter 8. In the 2nd year of Yeshua, a God, that is Ashon, caused to be established in his heaven all requisite places of learning and industry, whereby and wherein Essenes might be educated to good works, and to a general knowledge of Jehovah's kingdoms, the universe. And there volunteered a sufficient number of Etherians as teachers and practicers of work for all that was required. A God said, Now that the earth and heaven are purified from evil, my Lord shall deliver the Essenes to the Asaphs, and enjoin them to deliver in Yeshua, which I have established a short distance from the earth as a barrier against their returning to mortals. Jehovah saith, Suffer not the blind to lead the blind, And it was so. At the time mortals died, their spirits were taken by the ASAPs to Yeshua, and to make this an acceptable labor to the Essenes, a God said, "Tell my lords of the earth to teach mortals by inspiration and otherwise of my kingdom Yeshua." And so it came to pass through the lords and the Ashars, that is, the guardian spirits with mortals, that the name Yeshua was established on the earth. God said, in the time of Cosmon and sea, whence came the name of heavenly things, but Yeshua shall lie hid away, and Jehovah will in that day stretch forth his hand and disclose all. But mortals were thick in tongue, and could not say Yeshua, and they said, I-E-Su. Hence came the name of many men, Yesu, signifying without evil, which is the ultimate salvation of the soul. Jehovah spake through a God, saying, the time of the end of dawn cometh, and my emancipated sons and daughters shall return to their places, taking the resurrected with them. But that the earth and lower heaven may not be left in a darkness, provide ye a God and lords and marshals and messengers and all other officers to rule and teach in my name. From the born of earth shall ye make 'em, and they shall hold office for 200 years, and 400 years, and 600 years, according to the atmospherian cycles. Suffer not my Etherian host to remain longer than dawn, either on the earth or within atmospheria, for I shall take the earth into dark regions in order to build it up to a higher state for the time that cometh after. The voice departed, a God said, let the voice of the council deliberate on this matter, and speak before the Father. For I will provide a heaven in the ancient place of Horeb, and it shall be called Bispa, for it shall be a place of reception for the spirits of the dead, preparatory to their being brought to Yeshua. In course of time there were raised up many of the earth-born, and a God selected them and appointed them to fill the places, and he founded Bispa, and officered it according to the command of Jehovah. After a God established rites and ceremonies, and processions and dances with sacred words in Yeshua, he commanded his lords to give the same things to mortals, and they so fulfilled all that was designed from the beginning. In the 7th year of dawn, a God commanded his council to select another God lords, and other officers, and the council proceeded after the manner of the ancients, a selecting the most learned, and the purest and holiest, according to their rank and godliness chose they them. And a record was made of these matters, and deposited in the library of Yeshua. So it came to pass that a God called in his own lords of the earth, and set apart the first day of the new moon as the day on which he would consecrate the God and lords, his successors, and he called the day Mas, the name of which endureth to this day a Cosmon. Furthermore, God established the moon's day, Mas, on the earth as a time of consecration, and this is the origin of saying the Mass. When the chosen were in place before the throne, a God said, By command of Jehovah are ye brought before me, his son. In his name will I consecrate you to the places commanded to him.